We're now joined by the General Manager for Uber East Africa, Loic Amado. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Just taking it from that, I guess the festive season is here, and a lot of cabs in the country today are just inching every shilling from whatever. But how is it going for Uber since the holidays kicked in? Are the numbers looking good?
Yes, extremely good. So leading up to the festive season, as you mentioned, we've seen demand go up massively. Actually, over the last month, over 100,000 users have opened our app. So it's been an absolutely great experience so far all across Kenya, both in Nairobi and Mombasa. And we're quite excited about being here and seeing that uptake all over the country.
All right. Yesterday we spoke to the director for marketing and communications at Kenya Airways, and he said that they had increased the number of routes to Mombasa. And I'm thinking that maybe the use of Uber in Mombasa could be higher around this time compared to Nairobi. But what's it looking like currently at the moment in Mombasa?
Yes, you're correct. So since two or three weeks, we've seen demands really spike in Mombasa. We also have billboards at the airport currently showing that Uber is in town. So I think all those factors are contributing to the demand increase.
All right. Are you able to figure out whether they are foreign tourists who are using Uber in the past, say, 3 weeks, or it's the locals who are using Uber?
It's much more local. Local growth has been outpacing international users over the past 3 weeks.
All right. So in the past week, I guess say the past 2 weeks, there's been increased concerns about road safety and some of the measures that are being taken up by NTSA and a number of other driving schools and the government in general, and making sure that there is caution on our roads and people are not driving recklessly or drunk driving and things like that. As Uber, what initiatives or what measures are you putting in place to make sure that your drivers, first of all, are not high on something, and secondly, that the passengers are being careful and maybe looking at options like e-hailing services as opposed to driving their cars while drunk?
I think that's a great question. First of all, Uber has covered all the basics to get you home safely during this festive season. And I think it's a really good example of how we can leverage technology to provide that safe experience on the roads of Nairobi and Mombasa. What our app can contribute is it shows you who the driver is, the driver information plus the vehicle information. Whenever you push a button and order the driver, you can see exactly on a map how he is approaching your location. We've got an extremely important and a very popular feature that is called Share Your ETA, where you can share your destination with a family or a friend, and they can exactly follow or track you on the map where you are. Secondly, to your question about drivers, they go all through a rigorous screening background check process. And we have finally an in-app support function where you can just push a button and ask any question, and you will have an answer as soon as possible.
All right. So, in the unlikely event that maybe one of the drivers is high on alcohol, is there an immediate way that the passenger can be able to report such a case?
Yes, so we have actually a dedicated team, a law enforcement team that has been liaising with police locally. And whenever there is an issue, you can in-app then, of course, show or tell us what the issue is, and then we will work together with local law enforcement in getting that handled.
Great. So let's talk about the numbers. From the time that Uber made an entry into the Kenyan market, it was exciting times because everybody, I guess, had used Uber outside of Kenya. But then again, here, it was more like the good news that everybody was waiting for. What are the numbers looking like since you made entry into Kenya?
Extremely exciting. So I'm baffled by the growth that we've seen so far. We have already partnered with more than 4,000 drivers in Nairobi, and as I said, 100,000 users have opened the app over the last month. The uptake has been really tremendous from the very get-go since we launched almost 2 years ago in January. So yeah, it's been quite exciting to be here. I think it also goes back to the fact that Kenyans really embrace new technologies and are very open and optimistic about these changes that are coming to their markets. So yeah, extremely excited to be here.
How would you compare the Kenyan market to Uganda and Tanzania?
So I think definitely Kenya embraces technology very fast. We've seen that with the numbers, but we launched now Uganda and Tanzania around 7 months ago, and we see the same growth pattern over there. So quite exciting prospects ahead for 2017.
All right. If you might be specific with Uganda particularly, and I guess it's the same trend in Tanzania, as opposed to Kenya that doesn't have a number of motorbikes, plying the central business districts. In Kampala and in Dar, there's quite a number of them. Are you considering partnerships with these motorbike riders, or you are probably looking at a different growth strategy?
Well, I think that comes back to the fact that why have we been so successful in expanding all across the world is because we really localize our business. So we hire a local team that knows all the pain points of the city and all the opportunities. And does this mean looking only at cars? We, for example, also have motorbikes right now in Jakarta, in Indonesia. We have that product as well in Thailand. We just recently launched Uber rickshaws in Pakistan.
Yeah.
So we're always looking at providing more choice to local users in getting around safely, reliably, and most importantly also affordably. So if that is part of the transport ecosystem, of course, we look at it. It's something to keep in mind for sure, but we're right now fully focused on growing our UberX products across all these markets, and who knows what the future brings.
Well, we also have seen the Uber chopper in Kenya, and I guess the excitement around this time is, can it be chartered to whatever tourist destination that some of these Kenyans are actually flying to?
Yes, so definitely to Uber chopper. I've never seen such an uptake. We actually have the product as a full-time product in Dubai, but we did it here as a stunt. But still, left and right, wherever I go, people ask about Uber Chopper. So it seemed to have been an extremely interesting on-demand stunt that we did. Right now, it's not a full-time product, but who knows? The more people ask me and our local team, who knows what we're going to do in the future.
So are you able to quantify how many of your users have been able to actually ask for the service of an Uber chopper?
Well, we did it for a limited time period. So as you can imagine, the demand was extremely high. I don't know exactly how many Uber chopper trips happened, but it was more than we expected for sure. And the demand outpaced, of course, massively what we had in chopper supply, let's say.
All right. Now, unlike the other e-hailing taxi apps like Taxify and Little Cab and there's so many others that we're having in the country today, Uber has come and there's so much attack from the traditional cab drivers or the conventional cab drivers, and that is because they think or they believe that Uber is taking away most of their business, and the fact that they pay the city council, I think every single day or at least every week, a certain amount of money that they claim that Uber drivers are not paying. If you might want to clear the air on what exactly this is all about, do Uber drivers not pay these fees that are required of them on a daily or a weekly basis, or is it just a misunderstanding?
So I think there's a bit of a misunderstanding there. Let me clear that up. First of all, Uber is a technology company, and we partner with existing transport providers within a city. So it's not either taxi or Uber, it's Uber and taxi. We have a massive amount of taxis that are actually part of the platform. And every single driver goes through the whole screening process and the background check process the same way taxis do, because we've got a big amount of taxis, of course, already part of the platform, but new drivers that want to drive and transport people, they go through the same process as all other drivers.
All right. Then finally, let's just talk about, maybe for a minute or two, let's talk about the expansion plans that you have going forward. What exactly do they look like for Kenya, for Uganda, and for Tanzania?
Yes. So as an app, we want to be everywhere and for everyone. Any progressive, forward-thinking city that is open for safe, reliable, and affordable transportation, we want to be there. So very much now we're focused on growing our current markets, but we're always open for other opportunities. There's a massive amount of potential across the region, but right now we're focused on these current markets. Again, stay tuned on either expansion.
And where are you next going?
Sorry?
Are we going to see Rwanda coming soon, or you're focused on the bigger cities?
So, of course, when you look around, we've got Rwanda with Kigali, we've got Lusaka, we've got Addis, that is interesting. I think coming back to the point, we're very much focused on growing our businesses here and making that the most reliable product we can, and then looking at expansion.
All right, this is my final question. I know my director is just about to say something to me. But then, you know, we've had Uber drivers in, I think, the last 3 months as well, going out and protesting the price cuts and saying that it wasn't in their favor. Were the prices in your favor just because of the competition from the other e-hailing taxi applications, or was it just something that you were looking at to, you know, grow the business further?
Yes, so the latter. Actually, a price cut is there to benefit the drivers because we now tend to a much larger target market. Demand just spikes up and drivers have less idle time. So they're constantly busy, and we've seen that actually drivers are making as much as before, just in a shorter time frame. So it's actually much more beneficial for the drivers at the moment.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking to us about how the business is doing. Loic Amado is the general manager for Uber in East Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having
coming
me.
to
Pleasure.
us.
Thank you.
All right, we'll now take a short break. When we return, we've got more. And how are you doing on your holiday budgets? We're going to be speaking to Carol Kimtai, who is a digital marketer. She's been saving for Christmas or for the festive season since January. So she's going to tell us exactly what the good side of this is and the bad side of people who just started saving in the month of December. Do stay with us.